One day the three met, the past, the present, and the future. They did not like each other at first. The one called the past felt all-knowing and remarkable and always preached to everyone else. The one called the present felt the most important and magnificent. It behaved rudely and showed off. The one called the future felt lonely and misunderstood, constantly silent and trying to avoid communicating with everyone else. No matter what they did or how hard they tried to make friends with each other, nothing good happened. The time kept flowing and they kept constantly getting into each other's way. Eventually, the past, the present, and the future decided not to communicate anymore so as not to stress or annoy each other. The past went to the left, the future went to the right, and the present remained standing still. Calm reigned for a while. All the three kept carefreely running their businesses. They could see each other at a safe distance so not to cross paths or come into contact. However, the tranquility did not last long. One day the wind came. Even a faint wind alerted all the three, and the present shouted, "Hey you! Past and future, do you know what wind has come to our land?" The future, as usual, was silent and the past replied,
"It is the wind of change. You never know what to expect from it. Haven't you ever heard of such a phenomenon? I have met unpredictable winds a long time ago."
And indeed, the wind turned out to be unpredictable. On the left side, where the one called the past lived, the wind was blowing from top to bottom. On the right side, where the one called the future lived, the wind blew from the bottom to the top. In the place where the one called the present lived, the wind blew unpredictably in two directions, from left to right and from right to left. At first the wind did not seem too frightening because it blew barely noticeably, but as the time passed and the wind strengthened, the past, the present, and the future became more and more worried about the increasing strength of the wind. The past already felt the wind pressure down on it, the future worried that it would pull it up, and the present was anxious that it would break it into two. Finally, the wind intensified to the extent where the one called the past began to be pushed into the ground, and the one called the future began to be carried away into the sky. The one called the present became frightened and tried to hold on the past and the future. The wind tilted the present to one side and to the other side with incredible force. The present felt like it was about to break, but the tilt to the side was so great that the present finally reached the drowning past. "Hold on to me tighter!" shouted the present. The past caught onto the present with all its might, and the present pulled the past behind it with all its might. The wind changed direction abruptly, and the present with the past bent towards the future. The future, rushing upwards, thought that it was about to die, but at that moment the present again with all its might managed to catch hold of the future. The future twisted around the present, closed its eyes frightened, and silently thanked its savior. While the wind was roaring in rage, all the three became intertwined and stood together holding each other tightly. Feeling safe, the future asked, "Present, why did you save me? I thought you never liked me." The present heard the future's voice for the first time, rejoiced at the event, and replied, "I wasn't saving you, I was saving myself. If I had not grabbed hold of you, the wind would have bent me and broken me in half. And I needed the past to increase my weight and reduce the forceful attack of the wind." The voice of the present softened and the wind just began to subside. "Let's stand together for a while until the wind goes away completely," suggested the past, and this time decided not to bore anyone else with its preaching. When the wind had gone, the three decided to stand together a little longer in case the wind came back. During this time, they became attached to each other. The time kept going on and the wind was not coming back. However, the past, the present, and the future were still intertwined. The past kept telling stories and jokes, the present kept constantly bragging and laughing, and the future kept being silent, but yet smiling. Everything seemed the same, but somehow different, somehow better, somehow friendlier, and somehow more collective.